Hi there! In this video I want to go over the 4-star partners in CCN who fortunately aren't far behind their 5-star counterparts in overall value while being a bit more generalist. Since every class except for Psionics has 2 options, I'll explain and showcase their effects where appropriate and share my thoughts on which characters or situations they fit best. With that, let's jump right in. Rosaria is one of 2 options for Rangers, which currently includes Veronica, Hugo, Selena and Beryl. Her passive effect provides a multiplicative 10% bonus for extra attack damage at baseline, up to 20% at maximum manifestations. Then, when the assigned combatant uses an upgrade or skill card, there's a 25 up to 50% chance to gain 1 morale stack, which increases the team-wide damage additively by 20% per stack. Her ego skill costs 2 EP and draws 1 enhanced card. If you are wondering what that means, you're not to blame. As far as I'm aware, this is the only place in the game where the term is used. When using the skill, we can see that this refers to upgrade cards. Note that the skill randomly selects 1 upgrade card irrespective of the owner. Here, the draw pile contains a card from Veronica and Yuki, and Rosaria draws Yuki's card. This of course can be extremely valuable when an important card doesn't have the Outbreak of War/Initiation tag, like Yuki's Freezing Blade or Hugo's Hunting Instincts. Whether you're able to fish that card from the deck depends on how many other upgrade cards compete for the spot in the limelight. Note that even if the draw pile is empty, the effect will grab an upgrade card from the discard pile, if it includes any. If there are none at all, for instance when Rosaria's skill pops up too late in a battle, you will simply draw a random card. Daisy is the other option for Rangers and has a fairly similar passive effect. She provides the same extra damage attack bonus and has a slightly lower chance of 20 up to 40% to provide 1 morale stack. For some reason, the condition under which this effect activates is more restrictive than Rosaria's effect though. Rosaria has a chance to trigger any time an upgrade or skill card is used. Daisy triggers only once per turn and specifically when a card is drawn via an ability, which typically means via a skill card. I'm really puzzled why her chance to gain the morale stack is lower then. The nail in the coffin is her ego skill, which grants a shield and 1 morale stack. This is inferior to Rosaria's utility no matter how you look at it. All Rangers use upgrade cards, thereby benefiting from Rosaria's skill effect. Even after having used their own, the ego skill can fish out a key card for a teammate. Since both partners grant the same extra damage bonus, there's no reason to use Daisy on anyone. Moving on to the Hunter class, currently featuring Renoa, Luke and Lucas. Carity is the more generic of the 2 partner options. The passive grants 10 up to 20% multiplicative bonus damage to the first attack card played in a turn. When the assigned character generates a card, which for the current roster means bullet cards, another 10 to 20% multiplicative damage bonus is gained, this time for the entire turn. Here, as Renoa creates her bullets, Fresh Carrot, Carity's passive effect, activates. Renoa now benefits from the one-time effect plus the entire turn damage bonus for a total of 30% bonus damage because Carity is duped twice in this example. The bonus applies to all types of Renoa's attacks, meaning both her attack cards as well as the Dirge bullets and their extra attack multipliers. By using an active attack, the one-time bonus gets consumed. This can be avoided when playing Renoa by not having her actively attack, as Super Carrot power then simply lasts until the end of the round. Whether such a play makes sense depends on the lineup. Carity's ego skill costs 2 points and grants another 20% multiplicative bonus damage to generated cards from the assigned character. Unlike the passive bonuses, this specifically excludes the usual attack cards. Notably, this bonus also applies to the extra attack portion of Renoa's Dirge bullets. Here, she has the 15% bonus after creating her bullets, with the extra attack multiplier at 120%. After using Carity, the extra attacks are at 140% damage. Arkad is the less generic version of Carity, mostly limited to bullet cards. His passive grants bullets unconditional 10 to 20% bonus damage, plus another 12 to 24% after landing a critical hit. Here, using Arkad with 2 dupes, the multiplier of Renoa's attack card is unaffected. As the attack scores a critical hit, self-defense activates, now granting 18% bonus damage for Renoa's bullets, in addition to the unconditional 15% bonus from the passive. When inspecting her Dirge bullet, we can see that the 33% bonus applies to the extra attack portion as well. Arkad's buffs are more sustained than Charity's, though limited to bullets and less reliable due to the reliance on critical chance. Unlike his passive, the Ego skill grants 25% bonus critical chance to all of the character's attack cards, not just bullets. The effectiveness of this depends on a character's critical stats. Overall, Arkad is the ideal partner for Luke, who primarily deals damage via bullets. His Rapid Fire card offers at least 50% bonus crit chance to activate Arkad's secondary passive bonus, and his finisher round benefits as well due to the bullet tag. Arkad can be used on the other hunters too, but their damage is not as centered on their bullet cards. Without very high critical chance, Charity becomes the more reliable option. Both Rinoa and Lucas easily create bullets to activate the additional passive bonus. The Ego skill is more useful for Rinoa, as it can be used to buff up her Dirge bullets when she is about to unleash a whole hand of them. Since Rinoa's Ego skill costs only 4 EP, it can be combined with Charity on the same turn. If you're short on resources and want to build only one hunter partner, Charity is a safer bet, as her effects are more likely to remain relevant. Next up are Strikers, a class with more 5 stars than any other. This includes Yuki, Rin, Malin and Haru, as well as the lone Forster Owen, clearly here for his NTR shenanigans. More than for any other role, the partners clearly differentiate into 2 archetypes. Lillian is the first of 2, geared towards Strikers with low cost cards. The passive effect grants an additive 10 up to 20% bonus damage for cards that cost 1 AP or less, and more stacking additive damage of 10 up to 20% when using a skill card. All Strikers use skill cards, so the activation of the secondary effect is doable, although stacking it to its limit might be less practical. Assuming you get at least 1 stack going each turn, you're looking at 20 to 40% additive bonus damage, depending on Lillian's manifestations. This type of bonus is most effective for multi-hit attacks, which is something that most of the Strikers can build into. Then, the Ego skill costs 3 points, dealing 100% AoE damage while drawing 1 attack card from the assigned character with a cost of 1 or less. Keep in mind that the effect was recently changed, as it previously could be used to grab any low cost card from the deck. Here, Yuki has only her 0 cost skill card in the draw and discard piles. When using Lillian's Ego skill, no cards are drawn. Note that the skill also draws from the discard pile. Here, the draw pile is empty, but Yuki's 1 cost attack card is in the graveyard. Lillian causes the discard pile to be shuffled back before drawing the attack card. This effect provides useful utility for any striker with low cost attack cards, but is particularly synergistic for Yuki and her inspiration mechanic. Ritoshka is the other option intended for kids with higher cost cards. Its passive provides an additive 10 to 20% damage bonus for cards costing 2 or more, rather than 1 or less. Then, the secondary part activates at the start of the turn, granting 5 up to 10% additive bonus damage for every point of the total cost of attack cards in hand. Here, 1 stack of construction support is gained, since there's only 1 attack card in hand with the cost of 1 AP. If no attack is made, the stacks carry over to the next round. On the next turn, 7 stacks are gained, now at 7 plus 1 for a total of 40% bonus damage for 1 attack. Once an attack card is used, all stacks are consumed. Construction support can stack up infinitely, making it well suited for lineups that slowly cycle through a deck, playing high cost attack cards. The Ego skill costs 2 EP and grants 3 stacks of morale, or 60% team-wide additive bonus damage. That is as generic as it gets and can be used on any lineup, though it is more effective for multi-hit abilities. Overall, it is obvious that Ritoshka is intended for strikers like Haru, who play few high-cost attacks. Aside from the unconditional bonus, the stacking part of construction support that applies to a single attack makes little sense for other strikers who spam their attack cards every round. Lillian, on the other hand, is best for everyone except Haru. Alyssa is one of 2 options for controllers, which currently includes Orlea, Mika, Cassius, Ray and Nia. She offers 12 up to 24% bonus defense, which is what healing scales off in CZN. Then, at the end of battle, she passively grants 3% up to 6% max health recovery, which is helpful bonus sustain for chaos missions, in particular when your lineup lacks healing. Her Ego skill grants 100% healing at base, plus another 50% when injured. This refers to the percentage of the team's current HP. Note these little white markers on top of the health bar, which creates 3 segments. Here, the team is in the mid-range, which is a neutral state. If you were to use Alyssa now, she would restore 100% of the character's defense as healing, which amounts to 68 HP. After the opponent makes its attack, the team's health falls below the threshold, indicated as injured in the stat overview. Now, Alyssa shows healing of 150%, which amounts to a recovery of 102 HP. By healing up with the skill first, we're no longer injured, thereby lowering Alyssa's effectiveness once more. Therefore, she should be used prior to other healing abilities, if other healing gets you out of the critical area. Irrespective of this consideration, her ego skill also applies one morale stack for a turn, which is an additive 20% damage bonus. Since it costs only 2 points, she can also be used offensively if you otherwise lack a bit of damage to finish off a target. As noted before, additive bonuses are most effective for multi-hit attacks with low multipliers, so she's a better choice to support characters and builds that prioritize these types of attacks. Arwen is the other option for controllers and offers 8 up to 12% bonus HP and healing. Then, she has a passive effect called Bonopoko's Cheer, which grants at the start of turn up to 3 stacks of 10% damage reduction based on the number of enemies that plan to attack. Here, as the turn starts, both enemies prepare an attack, granting the team 2 stacks of Bonopoko's Cheer, for a total of 20% damage reduction. Once the first enemy attacks, the team takes 111 HP damage and 3 stress, after which both stacks are removed. The next hit is unmitigated, for a total of 145 HP damage and 4 stress. The damage difference is a bit larger than 20% because this enemy had a stack of morale, but take note that higher damage leads to more stress, making damage reduction quite valuable in Chaos. Arwen's effect and her ego skill can be combined for more damage mitigation. The skill grants 200% healing, plus the 8% bonus from its passive, and 1 stack of damage reduction. Damage reduction is a generic defensive buff, which reduces damage taken by 15%. As the enemies attack, the first instance of damage gets reduced by about 35%, causing 3 stress, while the second hit is unmitigated, causing 5 stress. Note that the 2 buffs work differently in practice. Here, the boss prepares a triple hit attack. We have 1 stack of Bonopoko's Cheer for 10% damage mitigation and 1 stack of damage reduction to mitigate damage by another 15%. With the first 2 hits, you can see that the 15% damage reduction fell off after the first instance of damage, whereas Bonopoko's Cheer reduces the impact of all 3 hits. Arwen's buff remains in effect for the entire enemy attack, irrespective of whether it is a single or multi-hit attack. Damage reduction stacks block 1 instance of damage, potentially reducing the incoming damage from multiple opponents if each only do a single hit. Overall, Arwen is the slightly more defensive option among the 2 4-star controller partners. Her damage reduction effects are most valuable in Chaos, where you will prevent damage and accumulate less stress as a consequence. Her ego skill can also be used preemptively and doesn't lose effectiveness when used too early, though it comes at an increased cost of 3 EP. Alyssa is more suited for stages outside of Chaos, where damage reduction plays less of a role. Her ego skill can be used offensively for the morale stack, while costing only 2 points. In Chaos, when your lineup fields 2 controllers, you're best off using both Arwen and Alyssa, since Bonopoko's Cheer is capped at 3 stacks. There's no character that strictly prefers one partner over the other, but if in the future a controller releases with defense scaling attacks, Alyssa would be the better choice due to her passive bonus. Continuing with the partners of the Vanguard class, currently including Khalib, Magna, Maribel and Amir. Wilhelmina provides 12 up to 24% defense plus an additive damage bonus of 10 up to 20% when targeting a vulnerable enemy. Since all Vanguards are defense scaling, she works on all of them. The additive bonus is pretty minor and best suited for low damage multi-hit attacks. Most notably, this is a good fit for Amir, who can apply vulnerable via Metal Pierce and then gets to benefit via Full Metal Hurricane. Wilhelmina's ego skill grants 2 morale stacks, which equates to a 40% additive damage bonus, and 1 stack of Fortitude, which subtracts 20% damage from received attacks. For 2 EP it's cheap and reasonably useful, though again less effective for higher damage multipliers. The morale stacks work for the entire team, making it a potentially valuable support skill. Rachel grants a multiplicative shield bonus of 10 up to 20%. Moreover, when gaining shields, there's a 20 up to 40% chance to gain 1 stack of counterattack. In keeping with the theme, her ego skill provides a shield for 2 EP and also a card draw. The latter makes her a potential asset for Yuki teams, but irrespective of that, Rachel is the best in slot choice for Magna, as her playstyle centers around shields and counterattacks. Rachel needs her manifestations to become more reliable though, as the chance to gain counterattack goes up to 40%. Maribel can make good use of either Rachel or Wilhelmina, as she has defense scaling attacks as well as counterattack stacking and shielding in her kit. When choosing a build with this version of Maribel Shelter and Resolute Blitz, Rachel is likely the better choice to more effectively stack up counterattacks and gain higher shield value when needed. Emir wouldn't benefit much from Rachel's effect, as she doesn't have much shielding in her kit to potentially gain stacks, and Khalib doesn't revolve around counter attacks, but rather hard-hitting defense scaling attacks, making Wilhelmina the better option. Finally, Eloise is the only 4-star partner for Psionics, which currently includes Charon and Tressa. She grants an unconditional 10 up to 20% multiplicative damage bonus, plus another 12 up to 24% after a card is exhausted or a status ailment card is gained. The latter part is added for Charon, as his futility cards are considered as such. Once he creates futility, technical support, which is the naming of Eloise's bonus effect, triggers. Note how the in-game text states plus 12% rather than by 12% on the partner effect. To see which is correct, here's Charon's basic attack card multiplier, currently at 187%. This includes the 10% attack card bonus from Eloise. Unbuffed, it has a multiplier of 153%, so the difference of 34 means that both buffs are indeed multiplicative. Note that even when Oath of Vanity changes futility to attack cards, Eloise still activates the moment futility cards are created in hand. Tressa needs to exhaust a Shadow Dagger before she benefits from this bonus, but with the right setup, that shouldn't be much of an issue. The Ego skill makes it so that 1 stack of Weaken is applied to a random enemy for each exhausted card. Weaken reduces the enemy's damage by 25% and is a great defensive debuff, though perhaps not best suited for a DPS character. Charon most effectively exhausts his card via his Ego skill, but unfortunately both of them can't be combined as that amounts to a total cost of 8 EP. To make good use of the effect, Charon needs help exhausting cards, for instance from Ray. Tressa on the other hand can spam a lot of Shadow Daggers in the right setup, allowing her to apply plenty of Weaken stacks at once. It's probably not too valuable outside of Chaos though, as other challenges are often simply a DPS check. That should do it for this overview. I hope learning what each partner's effect does and to whom it applies proves useful for your resource allocation. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.